Okay, just an opinion here. Part 2, Talon grip application or installation, whichever you prefer. And what we are going to be applying them on or installing them on today is Glock 34 Gen 4, which adds a little bit of potential complexity to the 17 that we just did. So the 34 Gen 4, and a couple of distinct differences between this and the 17. The grip is, the Talon grip is the exact same grip, right? But there are some subtle differences with the gun. So first thing we want to do is we want to slide off. We don't need the slide. Okay, so makes it a little easier to work with, and also that way we know everybody's safe. So same process as before, and I'm probably going to edit this video down a little bit. No need to make this thing run for 20 minutes, but I will try and point out the highlights and the differences. So if you watched the 17, the Glock 17 installation, this is going to be virtually the same with, again, just a couple of differences. So I'm going to highlight those. One is Generation 4 Glock has a larger mag release button, as you can see right here where my thumb is, and this larger magazine release button interferes a little bit with where this Talon grip wants to go, so we're going to need to trim. Now we can either trim beforehand or we can trim after or during, and I'm going to opt for during, so that we can get the best possible trim fit. Now looking on the other side, I always try and do a bit of a dry run with this before I take off the adhesive backing. So if you look at the other side of it, it looks like it's probably going to just clear the mag release on the right hand side. But if there's any interference there, we'll trim that as well. So I'm going to do the prep work. I may edit some of this out. So if there's any little glitches in the video where it looks like I edited, I probably edited. Again, just in the interest of not making you watch 20 minutes worth of video when 10 minutes will do. So here we have our alcohol wipe. The other thing that is distinctly different about the Gen 4 Glock is the stippling on the grip. So it's a much more aggressive stippling than its predecessors, including Gen 3. Gen 3 had that sort of artificially molded leatherette look, right? Or whatever you want to call that. You know, it had a sort of a grain texture. If you're familiar with Glocks, you're certainly familiar with that. Generation 4 has a much more aggressive texture, which is basically like a lot of raised dots. They're not really pointy. I think I've actually described them inaccurately and unfairly as being pointy. They're not really pointy. That would be probably pretty uncomfortable. But they are a lot of raised, tiny little squares, actually, is what they are. And they're raised up pretty significantly, so that they do give you a better natural grip than the previous generation, but still definitely room for improvement, which this Talon is going to do. Alright, so the grip is clean and dry. And we're going to peel the backing off of our adhesive. So, like we did with the 17, we're going to begin at the beginning. We're going to start here. You want to line up the Talon grip, you want to line up with just the front edge of the gun's natural grip, and you want it to be fairly low. Alright, and we're just going to sort of set that there like that. Won't that be good enough? And we're going to wrap around the back, and I can already see that I need to come forward a little bit. So I'm going to peel. I'm going to make sure I'm very low on the grip here, and I'm going to come forward. Now it's nice too with your magazine well being empty, which it certainly should be when you're doing this. It gives you a place to hold. And a bit of trial and error here. This one is not, I'm finding at this moment in time, this one is not quite as intuitive as the Glock 17 was in terms of where to start. So, having a little bit more trial and error here. Probably wouldn't need as much trial if we weren't having as much error. Alright, that looks good. The back strap section looks pretty centered. Now here's another important part. As we bring this guy around, we need to make sure that he is set nice and low. We want these finger groove tabs to line up really well. Okay, so we're gonna just push down a little on him. I don't really see any kind of air bubbles or pockets or loose areas, so I'm going to push these finger grooves down a little bit just to sort of clear an area. Okay, they look pretty good. I'm gonna maybe reposition that one square so they don't wind up as crooked as the 17. Make them look a little nicer, make them look pretty. Okay, now we need to pop this guy back up and put these down underneath. Press them down good and put this guy back. Now, while we're doing that, and while it's still a little bit loose, I'm going to take, and you'll pardon me if I block your view, but I'm going to take an X-Acto knife here, and I'm going to make just a little bit of a cut here. Okay, and here. Okay. And it looks like that cut was enough to give me a nice clearance around that mag release button. And what I'm doing now is I'm just pressing it down tightly everywhere, trying to kind of work that adhesive down into the grip, down into the polymer, and work out any air. Down in there nice and snug, and you can see that on this side we are just missing that mag release button, because that does have to clear that, so we're good there. Hit this with some hot air. Now the final step is to hit this thing with some hot air with a hairdryer or a heat gun. You want to be careful, obviously you don't want to melt the gun, but you want to get it nice and warm so that you can really let that thing form down into the substrate. Alright, nice and warm. Now we'll try and get everything formed really well. The heat really relaxes, really makes it pliable. Lets that really get down into the stippling that's on the molded frame. And actually, you can't smell it, but I can smell that hot hair dryer smell. Okay, I think we should be in good shape there. All right, that looks pretty good. So it feels decent. I think we've got it molded on really nice. So this is grip number 2, because we just previously did the Glock 17 generation 3. Now we've just done the Glock 34 generation 4. I think we're okay. I might hit that with a little bit of heat again in a little while, just to. Yeah, but let's put it together and make it look like a firearm. Something that might have to be the subject of a future review, and that is my Lone Wolf stainless steel barrel. Ooh, as yet not fired. This weekend it will definitely see some action, so as will these grips. So I'm looking forward to nice test of both over the weekend. So Talon grips.